My name is James Rohn, and welcome back to Story for Heart. Today, I want to break down one of the most powerful stories. We've covered a tale of betrayal, resilience, and love that rebuilds itself from nothing. Let's dive into story. In the fall of 1887, a young woman named Clara Bennett steps off a train into the cold Montana evening, carrying nothing but a worn leather suitcase and a heart full of hope. For 8 months, she had exchanged letters with a rancher named Edward Hayes, a man who wrote to her through a matrimonial agency, promising honesty, hard work, and a real future together. Clara, who had spent 4 years caring for her family after losing both her parents, saw in those letters something she hadn't felt in a long time. The sense that she mattered to someone. She boarded the train west with everything she owned, believing she was walking toward a new life. But when she arrives at Red Willow Station, no one is waiting for her. The platform empties. The station agent finally delivers the blow, flatly and without warmth. Edward Hayes married another woman 3 weeks earlier. He never even sent word to stop her from coming. Clara is left alone on an empty platform as night falls, with only $3.40 to her name, nowhere near enough for a return ticket. She has no family to wire, no one to call for help, and a temperature dropping fast in the Montana cold. For a moment, she allows herself to break down quietly, wondering if she was simply never meant to be chosen by anyone. This opening section sets the emotional foundation of the entire story. It's not just about heartbreak. It's about the particular cruelty of being erased from someone else's plans without even the courtesy of being told. Clara isn't naive. She's a practical, hardworking woman who believed in a promise, because she needed to believe in something after years of carrying everyone else's burdens. Her disappointment isn't dramatic self-pity. It's the quiet, exhausted grief of someone who has run out of options and still has to figure out what happens next. What makes this moment so powerful for viewers is its universal ache. The feeling of being left behind, of trusting someone completely only to discover you were never truly considered at all. It's a moment so many people can relate to, arriving somewhere, whether physically or emotionally, only to find the door already closed. But this rock-bottom moment doesn't stay static for long. Just as Clara is at her lowest, sitting alone in the dark with tears she can't stop, a stranger's voice breaks the silence. This unexpected intervention becomes the hinge point of the entire story. The moment despair turns into the first spark of a new beginning. The betrayal at the station isn't just a tragic opening. It's the wound that everything else in the story will be built around healing. Enter Nathan Cole, a quiet, weathered rancher who refuses to leave a stranded woman. Alone on a freezing platform, without pressure or expectation, he offers Clara a place to stay. A spare room with a proper lock on the door, a hot meal, and no questions asked until morning. It's a small gesture, but it becomes the foundation of everything that follows. Nathan, we learn, lost his wife and daughter in a winter storm 6 years earlier, and something in Clara's devastation stirs a recognition in him. The specific feeling of the world moving on without you. Clara doesn't accept charity easily. She insists on earning her keep, and Nathan agrees to pay her fairly to manage his household accounts and supply records. What starts as a practical arrangement quickly reveals Clara's sharp mind for numbers. She uncovers that Nathan's ranch has been quietly bleeding money for months due to mismanaged pastures and inflated supply costs. But the deeper she digs, the more she uncovers something far more sinister. Edward Hayes, the very man who abandoned her, is running a calculated scheme across the county. He manipulates property assessments to artificially lower land values, then pressures banks to call in mortgages early, forcing struggling families into distress sales. Once the land is undervalued and the owners are desperate, his shell companies swoop in and buy it for pennies on the dollar. Nathan's ranch, sitting on land the railroad wants for a new rail spur, is his next target. Rather than walk away from a fight that technically isn't hers, Clara throws herself into building a case. She interviews victimized families like the Hendersons, tracks a suspicious pattern through land records, and identifies a corrupt notary connecting every fraudulent document. She hires an attorney, gathers sworn testimonies, and even stands before a packed town hall to lay out the evidence publicly, refusing to let Hayes rewrite the narrative by smearing her reputation instead of answering for his crimes. This section of the story is really the heart of its message. Resilience isn't just about surviving hardship. It's about turning pain into purpose. Clara doesn't fight this battle because she owes Nathan anything. She fights because Edward Hayes used her without her consent, and she refuses to let that go unanswered. Her transformation from a devastated, abandoned woman into a methodical, Fearless investigator is what makes this story so compelling. It shows that sometimes the people who've been knocked down hardest are the ones who fight back with the most clarity and courage. As Clara's case builds momentum, Edward Hayes grows increasingly desperate, resorting to forged documents, public threats, and character attacks to protect his scheme. But his carelessness under pressure only strengthens the case against him. With the help of an attorney and a cooperating witness, the fraud is exposed at a level serious enough to draw the attention of the territorial attorney general, is moving the case beyond Hayes' local influence and corrupt connections. At trial, Clara testifies with the same precision and composure she's shown throughout the story, calmly dismantling every attempt to discredit her. The verdict finally arrives. Edward Hayes is convicted on multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy. The banker who enabled him loses his position, and most importantly, every family who lost land under the scheme, including the Hendersons, receives full restitution. Justice, though, is only half of this final chapter. Throughout the legal battle, something quieter and more personal has been growing between Clara and Nathan. What began as an act of simple kindness, a stranger refusing to leave a woman alone in the cold, evolves into deep mutual respect, and eventually love. Nathan, who had spent 6 years treating his ranch as a monument to grief, slowly rediscovers what it means to build a home rather than simply endure a house. Clara, who once believed she wasn't meant to be chosen, learns what it feels like to be seen, trusted, and valued for exactly who she is. Their relationship never rushes. Clara asks Nathan to wait until spring to propose again, wanting to know their bond can hold up, even after the fight is over, when there's nothing left to prove. Just the ordinary business of daily life. When the iris bulbs Nathan once considered pulling out finally bloom, it becomes the quiet, symbolic signal that new life has taken root. They marry that spring. Clara doesn't stop there. She opens her own office in town, helping other vulnerable women and families navigate financial fraud and legal confusion, paying forward the same kindness she once received. The story closes full circle, with Clara sitting beside another stranded young woman on that same train platform, offering her the exact same lifeline Nathan once offered her. This final act ties the whole story together. Real strength isn't just overcoming your own hardship. It's using what you've survived to lift others up. Betrayal became the beginning, not the end, of Clara Bennett's story. That's the breakdown of this incredible story. If it moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. See you in the next one, only here on Story for Heart.